Today's episode will be going past the trade deadline, which is right here in week 9. And I think it's safe to say that at 1-6, this is not a team that is in a position to be buying at all. And so we will not be. So I mentioned in the last episode that I think it is smart to trade away a guy like Joel Bitonio. 33 years old, he has no interest in a re-sign and is on the last year of his deal. He is our highest overall rated offensive lineman, but since he's just not going to be on the team anyway, I think it would be wise to move off from him in a season that is ultimately kind of already lost at 1-6. Now, for the rules that we have for trading vets, the best pick that I should be able to get for Joel Bitonio is a 6th-round pick. The Lions do not have one, so rather than that, I think if we do a 5 for Bitonio and a 7, I think that makes some sort of sense. That's close enough to kind of a 6th-round pick value here. And should the Lions accept, they're one of the best teams in the league this year, and they could use the upgrade at left guard. That'll get us, a trade up of, at least 40, probably somewhere around there spots in the class. Not a lot for a guy that has the talent of Bitonio, but at 33 years old, kind of on a half of a year contract, that seems fairly reasonable to me. That does give us a little bit of space to fill out our roster here, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sign Devin Little off of the Baltimore Ravens practice squad. Just 21 years old, 66 overall. Not special by any means, but worth putting on our roster to just fill in that Bitonio spot, give us an extra guard on the squad. Today's schedule will kick off with our second matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. Last time their offense had their way with us. 1-6 versus 6-1. You got to think that it's not going to be a pretty day for our Browns, carrying over the 6-game losing streak from the previous episode. And now all of a sudden the Bengals are looking to strike first. They have first and goal from the 4-yard line. They've been able to use the pass game to quickly get themselves down the field. Burrow in the pocket, has all day, has a man, breaking one tackle, but getting down to the 1-yard line. Nice job on the second effort by the defense to bring him down. Second and goal. Nice blitz pickup, a running back being able to stop Myles Garrett on the rush is rare, and it results in a T. Higgins touchdown for Cincinnati. I mean, what a blitz pickup there by the running back. The Browns offense has the ball past midfield for the first time in this game. It's been a lot of struggle for this offense. Starting the 3rd-round rookie has gone kind of how you would expect starting a 3rd-round rookie to go. I knew it was a risky play not taking the quarterbacks, and that it would likely make this first year offensively at least a struggle. And that has come to be the case in a major way. In so many of these games, we're getting shut out in the first half. The offense has a tough time just getting it over midfield. And I just think, it was going to be a tough road ahead for Snell. It wasn't an easy task, but I think his play has certainly kept quarterback on the board and a very high priority in this upcoming draft. Once we get a little bit further in the year, which we'll get to in this episode, I'll be telling you all that I know about Donald Richardson and our hopes of course, acquiring him. And it always hurts to see Glenn Davis there in the top of the NFL standings. That's the guy we wanted last year. He just didn't fall to us. Offense getting going here with the first half coming to a close. The Bengals did get another passing touchdown. since the last time we hopped into the game. And on 2nd and 5, Logan Wilson shoots through the gap and gets the tackle behind the line of scrimmage. That'll lead us here to the 2-minute warning. Browns trying to get on to the board before we head into the halftime break here. Still within deep field goal range, as long as we don't take a sack here, but you'd love to get the conversion. Snell has time, has a man past the sticks. It is Jamari Thrash with the reception. Judy talking his crap here when you're down 14-0. I don't know how much smack talk is warranted there. David Njoku on a big-time reception. Gets it down to the 6. It'll put Snell over 100 yards passing here in the first half. Still, of course, looking for that first touchdown. He does have a pick in this game. Kareem Hunt in the backfield for Cleveland. Snell back to pass. Plenty of time. Eventually, it runs out, and he's just able to get the pass off before getting clobbered. 2nd and goal from the 6 here. 3 receivers on the set for Cleveland. Back to pass again. Njoku on the reception for 6. Back-to-back receptions for David Njoku there, and he gets the Browns on the board here. Makes it a 1-possession game here as we head into the half. Things looking at least semi-competitive here. The defense has been solid, and the offense finally joins the party. Hopping in here, 9 minutes left and change here in the 3rd quarter. The Bengals have a pretty strong drive going for them. Joe Burrow intercepted. Greg Newsome gets the pick, nearly trucks through Rico Dowdle. But after many consecutive games without any interceptions, Greg Newsome gives Cleveland the ball with excellent starting field position. Big play made by the defense, and now the offense has a chance to go tie this up. Let's go ahead and watch this next drive. I pressed the wrong button here, but still learning this whole managing the Super Sim thing, and that's not going to be a great start to the drive there. Loss of 2 on the run. I asked for some feedback as to how we should handle these kind of games that we're hopping in and out, and I appreciate any piece of feedback I can get. Unfortunately, I had to record this episode before I had a chance to get any feedback, so if you're wondering why I didn't implement some suggestions, if there were any, that'll be why. Jerome Ford gets back to the line of scrimmage here. 10 receptions for 18 yards. The run game has been absolutely stifled by this Cincinnati defense. Going for screen on 3rd down, but we can't even get it off. Chris Jenkins on the sack. The defense comes up big with a turnover, and the offense does absolutely nothing with it. 2 runs and a screen. You could tell that this offense does not trust their young quarterback, and it's easy to see why. Greg Newsome would come right back and get his 2nd pick. So the Browns offense once again back out on the field, and we are going to see if we can't make the most of this second time. Newsome, upset with the little production with his first interception, decides to give the offense a second chance. This time, much better field position still. Snell has a man. Tillman down to the 2-yard line. He's had all day. This Browns offensive line has been playing excellently. Even with the departure of Joel Bitonio, we still have a pretty solid offensive line. They're playing well in pass protection today. Jerome Ford. I thought he had an angle to the end zone had he gone a little bit further inside of that lead blocker. Instead, it's 2nd and goal from the 2. The run game continues to struggle. Browns spreading them out here at the 2-yard line. The give to Kareem Hunt. He's got it across the goal line. Touchdown. Cleveland Browns. And despite the fact that it's 6-1 versus 1-6, you can never count a divisional opponent out. Division games are always tricky. And the Browns are an extra point away from tying this game up. As we inch our way towards the fourth quarter in this game, we've got a good one here in Cincinnati. And it's a 20-yard touchdown to T. Higgins. Thought about jumping in here, but was a little bit too late on the draw. Cincinnati retakes the lead, courtesy of another Joe Burrow touchdown. He's been throwing a lot of TDs in his 2 games against Cleveland this season. Browns offense on the move again. All of a sudden, the Browns offense has some life. They've been using kind of these intermediate throws, 6 to 10 yards down the field to get to this point. Went for another one there to Kareem Hunt, but just could not get the completion. So it's 2nd and 10. Judy in motion. Fake the give to him. Snell has space, has a man wide open. Cedric Tillman. Touchdown. And we're all even once more. The Cleveland Browns offense is looking better right now in this second half than they have in a long time. Trying to keep pace and upsets the Bengals, who are in a really good spot to try and chase the 1 seed right now. But a loss against the Browns would hurt that significantly, and it's always nice to hurt the prospects of a division rival, even when you're in a lost season. From the 44-yard line, 10 minutes remain in this tied ball game. Burrow has a man over the middle. Rico Dowdle on the reception. 3 touchdowns, 2 picks on the day for Burrow. Here on 2nd down, Burrow all alone in the backfield. Clean pockets, delivers a strike down the sideline. Would have been an excellent catch by Quick, but instead it's 3rd down. Can this defense, which has a lot of studs on it, come up with a big play here? Not this time. Bengals got a matchup they wanted. T. Higgins against J.O.K. Usukoromo, one of the best coverage linebackers there is, but not good enough to cover T. Higgins in one-on-one coverage. I don't think there's a linebacker anywhere you'd feel comfortable doing that. Quick throw by Burrow here. It'll be for a short gain of 4. And Gesicki throwing the ball off of Hicks's helmet. No flag. Things getting chippy here. Bengals want to keep their win streak alive. Chase Brown will make it a 3rd and short for the Bengals. Chase Brown having a really above expectation year for him in real life. A lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards. Been a positive player for the Bengals for sure. And this one will be a touchdown strike to T. Higgins. Neither offense can be stopped right now. I mean, this game was low scoring, 14-7 going into the half, but all of a sudden 28-21 and still 8 minutes to play. I don't think the scoring's done just quite yet. I think we watch out the rest of this game. About 5.5 minutes remain in a tight divisional battle. Offenses have come alight here in the second half and made this game a very entertaining one. Gain of nothing there on the run. Jerome Ford, not his best day on the season for sure. Nice catch in traffic by David Njoku to make this 3rd down much more manageable. Cleveland going with heavy personnel. 3 tight ends on the field. Could they be looking to run? It's been a tough day all day, but Jerome Ford finally breaks free. Off of 1 tackle and down to the 21-yard line. Sometimes with the run, you just have to stick with it, and eventually you'll pop a good one. And we got one there in a very big spot. 82 did just enough there on the blocks. I don't think he was really actually doing much, but he got in the way, which is all that Ford really needed to get to the edge. Snell right back to Ford. This time, Logan Wilson able to sift through the traffic and bring him down after just a gain of 1. Bengals out in press man coverage here on 2nd down. Browns right back to the ground game. Kareem Hunt has a first down to the 7-yard line. The run game all of a sudden showing some life here, wearing the defense out as this physical game continues to wear on. Snell all day eventually goes for Judy, but he can't hold on through the traffic. Under center now, 3 receivers on the left side of the formation. Snell back to pass. Ford will get him close to halfway there on the check down. 2-minute warning. The Browns need a touchdown here. They need 4 yards to get there. Will be a bunch formation on the left. Cedric Tillman isolated on the right side. Snell. Nowhere to go. He's forced out of the pocket and throws it away. 4th and goal upcoming. Still with all 3 timeouts, there is the option to kick a field goal here, but I like the decision by Stefanski here. All or nothing. You're 1-6. Tie this game. Right here. Snell. He's going to evade and he's going to score with his legs. Sean Snell. Perhaps his best game as a professional. In fact, I don't even think it's really stretching to say that. The Browns looking to end their 6-game losing streak by upsetting the number 1 seed in the AFC North. PAT is up and in. 28 all. It's been pretty much non-stop touchdowns here in the 4th quarter. Whose defense will be the first to get a stop? Solid return there by Quick. This is a talented Browns defense. But this is a very talented Bengals offense as well. Who's going to win out? We're watching the rest of the game. Strength on strength here on the field. Burrow has time and has a man on the underneath crossing route, catch and run yardage all the way to midfield, just like that. Bengals only need about 15 more yards, and they're in field goal range. They'll get roughly half of that here. Going with the no huddle. Burrow under center. He's been going with these underneath crossing routes, and they're working for him into field goal range. Go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Still not a easy field goal here. It'd be about 50 yards. Burrow trying to make it easier. Going for a tough catch. And holding on is Eric All. Through double coverage, going to the backup tight end. That takes some big cojones for Joe Burrow. I guess Greg Newsome wasn't totally on him, but a little bit of a risky play, but it works out in Cincinnati's favor, and now they have the inside track towards finishing this game out with a dub. Cleveland calls the second of their timeouts after that Juan Thornhill run stop. 2nd and 11. That's another TFL, this time JOK. Cleveland will call their final timeout, and they'll have at least some time to come up with something. Guaranteed, unless Cincinnati converts here on 3rd down. They'll play it safe. Dowdle. Pickup of 6, well short of the sticks. There will be roughly 10-15 seconds left on the clock when Cincinnati snaps this ball. Enough for pretty much 1 play. Maybe 2. depending on what Cleveland uses as their strategy here. And the Bengals take the lead with 14 seconds off of that field goal. We'll take the knee there. 2 plays, maybe 3, if you play it right. Snell in the gun. Cincinnati will rush forward. He gets a man down the sideline, but it's in bounds. And that's going to end the game. A nice throw, but you have to go out of bounds there. And Cincinnati holds on for the 31-28 victory. The Browns defense just has really struggled against Cincinnati this year. It's understandable. Burrow is a really good quarterback, and in this scenario where they've been able to keep Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, it's going to be a tough offense for years to come. One of our biggest challenges here of the series will be creating a defense that can get stops against all these superstars. Let's go ahead and now talk about some player stats. Burrow, 341, 4 touchdowns, did throw 2 picks. Snell, his best game as a pro, over 100 rating, probably for the first time in his career. Completed 71% of his passes for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. The run game really struggled for us in this game. Jerome Ford, 17 carries, less than 3 per. Kareem Hunt's 4 carries looked pretty good. Jerry Jeudy got a rushing attempt. Higgins, 100 yards and 3 touchdowns on us. Jerry Jeudy went 8 for 90. Tillman, 5 for 71 and a touchdown. Njoku, 4 for 35 and a touchdown. Blocking wise, couple of sacks led up by the guards. 13 total tackles for JOK. No sacks for Cleveland. But Greg Newsome with the 2 interceptions makes it 7 out of 10 for our season-long goal here as we just played our 8th game of the season and dropped to 1-7. And to make matters worse, Daniel Gibson injured in this game. He'll miss the next 3 games here, as I haven't simulated up the week yet, so it says 4, but it'll be 3 games here that he will miss. The task in week 10 would not be any easier, as we would face off against the 7-2 Lions, who became 8-2 with a 34-10 victory over the Browns. Jared Goff, 3 touchdowns, no picks in this game. Snell threw a couple of interceptions here. I mean, if we're looking at just Browns carries, wow. 7 total carries in this game. That might be the lowest I've ever seen it. Njoku got another touchdown, but just 9 receiving yards. We got to do something in this playbook. I do plan on creating a custom playbook at some point for this team. Probably once we know kind of what the quarterback situation is going to be, which might be as soon as next year when we draft a quarterback. Because, of course, I want to create a scheme that will help the quarterback. Lance Litton allowed 4 sacks in this game. We did get 2 sacks from Sam Hubbard, of all people, and it's been a little while since we've seen one from Myles Garrett, so got to do better there. Don't want to have him have his first season ever where he doesn't get, double-digit sacks. That would truly be a horrendous start to this series for us, but there you have it. 34-10 defeat to the Detroit Lions, who, of course, we traded Joel Bitonio to. I think we know about the draft class to start to talk about it a little bit, at least at the top here. There are 4 pass rushers at the top of this class, back to back to back to back. One of them plays on the interior, so I have him on my board here in Joe Downing. I think he's a fun pass rushing interior guy. Good athlete, not elite at it, but A finesse moves. A lot of other A's there on his card as well. And so I think that's a really fun interior prospect here at the top of the class. The edges, we took edge at the top of the draft last year, so I'm not really looking at that this year. Von Hoskins, we don't know much about him. We don't know anything about his pass rush yet, but he does have 3 A's. So he looks good. I just don't think he'll be for the Browns. But the guy we obviously want to talk about the most is Donald Richardson, the lone quarterback that will go ahead of like late round 2 in this entire class, unless somebody severely reaches, which, is always a possibility in the NFL draft. But Donald Richardson here, 21 years old, looks like the traits are in a good spot. 6 foot, not super tall by any means, but 235 is really solid. Above average athleticism, I'd even say like really good, not maybe quite elite. His throw power, great to good, as well as his speed, but then the acceleration is in an elite spot. In terms of his ratings, we know he has A play action and A short accuracy right now. Could also have A medium accuracy. We know he's going to struggle a little bit with the deep though, which is unfortunate. B throw on the run, B break sack is solid. Under pressure, I hope that comes in at B. C would be okay, but D would be concerning, and we also don't know his awareness. We'll still be learning more about him. We'll hit, I think, like something like 70 or 80 or something here in the next few weeks. So we'll get more information on that. As of right now, with 50%, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I think he'll be a good quarterback prospect. Certainly not a generational one or anything. I think I'd put him kind of on par. We'll see what happens with the rest of his ratings, but on par with Glenn Davis in that respect. We've seen what Glenn Davis has done in his rookie year. Not going to say it'll be the exact same, but I like what I've seen so far from Donald Richardson. And with us being at 1-7, I think we're going to be in a spot to take him unless we go on some crazy late season search. And the Browns' losing streak is finally at its end. A win against the Steelers. Our only 2 victories on this season are both against the Steelers. Decided to just quick sim this game because we spent so much time on the Steelers when we played them in the first game of the season. 24-17. Taking a look here at the box score. No passing touchdowns, but 5 picks were on the board. So kind of looked like it did in our first game, even when I simmed it. Najee Harris was an absolute beast in this game, I guess. 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt had 3 touchdowns on the board. One of the best simulation games for Jerome Ford. So a lot of Jerome Ford's production on the year coming against the Steelers. Receiving wise, rookie Trayvon Harris led all players in receptions. What did we get for Njoku? Absolutely nothing. The simulation has absolutely failed Njoku. I got to hop into the lab and get a custom playbook that will actually involve the tight end a bit, because this has been truly just awful stuff. A couple of Pittsburgh sacks allowed. We'll see what those are for. And it looks like Sam Hubbard, another good day. Is something up with our guy Myles Garrett? Why is he not getting any production in simulation? That's really confusing to me. Going to be a lot of interceptions here. Denzel Ward picks up another interception. JOK and Martin Emerson puts us at 9 out of 10 corner interceptions on the year for our goal. Feeling really good about hitting that this season. No deflections. 1 forced fumble by Grant Delpit. Good job by him. And that loss streak is off of our backs. If you're wondering what that win did for our draft stock, it put us from 2 down to like 6 in terms of record, but we're tied with a lot of teams here. There's only 1 team with fewer wins than us so far on the year, and the Jaguars just have 1 more loss because they haven't had their bye week yet, but still definitely in contention for the top pick, and definitely in contention for a top 5 pick, because there's only 1 even 3-win team, and I doubt we even get to 4, let alone surpass it at any point in this season. This 24-31 loss against New England was massive, as this was 2 win teams going at it. Drake May had a really solid game against Snell with a, that was a Sean Snell game, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. kind of just meh. Got some good production on the running game, better than we usually do. We look at receptions here. Hardman had the most yards. I want receptions. There we go. Now we had Tutu Atwell with 6 receptions, Jerry Jeudy with 5, Tillman and Latu. So it looked like maybe Njoku was injured in this game, which is of course just going to further make things difficult on his development. Taking a look at TFLs, we had 2 for Sam Hubbard, Mike Hall Jr. with a sack, and then Marcus Jones would pick up an interception here. Got some nice deflections on the board in this game as well, with Kyle Duggar forcing a fumble. But if you're looking at the draft odds, this is one of the most important losses of the season for Cleveland. And then one more box score here before we jump back into some gameplay. A fairly competitive loss against against San Francisco, who came into this game only with 3 losses, so 9-3 now on the year. McCaffrey had himself a solid outing. We had 6 for 91 for Jerry Jeudy, 6 for 64 Cedric Tillman. Next up, we had David Njoku, 3 for 23. He never gets more than 3 catches in simulation. Rough day for Linton, who's definitely been the guy who's allowed the most sacks on our squad. Sacks wise, you got Myles Garrett back into the sack column again for the first time in way too long for him. Interception wise, Grant Delpit, so we do not get that 10th cornerback in interceptions. Of course, Delpit is a safety, but there you have it. Let's hop back into some gameplay against the division rival Ravens. Before we do that though, we have a very important upgrade on Greg Newsome. This will get him to 87 overall, which allows us to attempt and re-sign him now, which is what I'm going to do. He's had himself a really solid year, and we'll do more of these upgrades later on in the episode. But I wanted to get that one done because I want to try and bring Greg Newsome back. He has no interest, so we're going to have to overpay him here. Let's see what he wants on the player-friendly deal. Let's go 16 mil per. That leaves us with only 11.5 of space, but that might be what it take to get it done, but that's still not enough. We'll have to try again next week. As we enter into this first matchup against the Ravens we have this season, we've got ourselves a 3-way tie for the worst record in all of football. So as much as you like to beat your division rivals, you know, there are some big stakes and other means on the table for the Browns, as we'll go 3 and out with an Odafe Owe sack to start this game. We've got the first good offensive drive really for either side here as we head into the second quarter instantly. Both defenses pretty much forcing 3 and outs consistently for the entirety of the first quarter. A bit of a mishap there from Teller. We'll make it 1st and 15 from the 42. David Njoku, his 3rd reception already, but they've all been exactly 5 yards. He's been the check down man for Snell early in this game. There you see it, 3 catches, 15 yards. 2nd and 10, the give is to Jerome Ford. He gets tripped up on David Njoku. And he's going to lose 2 yards there, and it looked like there was a bit of a lane for him. He just kind of got glitched up on David Njoku. So it's 3rd and long. It'll be a very tough field goal from this spot. Would love to get some sort of yardage. Instead, it's a sack. Oweh's 2nd of this game, both on 3rd down. An absolute backbreakers for the Browns offense. Jack Conklin, the blocker there, although that wasn't like a quick sack or anything. It looked like it was actually David Njoku staying in and blocking. And Owe versus a tight end, yeah, I'll take that if I'm the Ravens. Ravens now threatening here, under 6 minutes remain in the half. They're at the 30-yard line. They give to Derrick Henry. One of the best in a generation. He's having a heck of a year in real life for Baltimore. Picks up 7 on that run. 2nd and 3 now. Lamar emptying the backfield. Still a major threat on the ground, of course. So you can't sell out for the pass, as a good dump off to the flat will move the sticks, as well as get Baltimore into the red zone from the 14 now. Derrick Henry re-enters the game, flanking Lamar Jackson here. They'll fake the give to him, and Lamar on the keeper, stopped up by Juan Thornhill. Loss of 3. Great play recognition by the safety there, and to get the tackle. There's no small feat either against Lamar. Loss of 3 on first down, makes it 2nd and 13. Quick toss out to the flat for Lamar. Big hits by JOK on Andrews to stop him for a pretty minimal gain. It was a good opportunity for the Browns to hold Baltimore to a field goal here. 3rd and 9. Lamar given plenty of time, and incomplete towards Zay Flowers. 2 Browns defenders in the area. They're able to create enough traffic, as this is a chippy divisional game. Baltimore will settle for 3 here, but it'll be the first points of the game with just over 3 minutes remaining in the half. Been a defensive battle early for sure. 44-yard touchdown for Jerry Jeudy, and with 17 seconds left in the half, the first touchdown is scored, and it's an explosive play to wide receiver 1. Nice job by the Browns to turn the last 3 minutes into some positive stuff here, and the Browns will likely head into half with the lead against the Ravens, and they will. Coming out of the break, the Browns' first drive is a good one. They've been able to get Jerome Ford going on the ground a bit, and this time it'll be Kareem Hunt who gets into the action on the grounds. Just a lot of 5-6 yard pops so far. Have us in that borderline field goal range here. Snell to Njoku. Pick of 6 on first down. 142 yards and a touchdown for Snell. Has not yet turned the ball over. You know, knock on wood. The give to Hunt. And that'll get almost to the sticks here. It'll bring up 3rd and short. For the Browns, they're going heavy package. Just 1 receiver on the top of your screen. Right back to the ground. It's Jerome Ford this time. Plenty of space off the edge. Gets us into the red zone. Not a lot of rushing success there in the first half, but seems that the tone has shifted for Cleveland. Going heavy on the ground on this drive, which resulted in perhaps their best drive. Yeah, they do have a touchdown drive, but it was an explosive play to get there, which, you know, not complaining about explosive plays at all, but their most consistent drive right here. Courtesy of running the ball, but that's a nice stop there. Breaking through the line of scrimmage for the TFL, and Jerome Ford shaken up on the play. Doesn't look like it's anything too serious, as he will remain on the bench, but Kareem Hunt now flanks Snell in the backfield. Back to pass on 3rd and 5. Njoku open for 6. David Njoku. That's probably his 5th or 6th catch in this game. It's been a theme that the Browns have really struggled to get him involved in games. That has not been the case here against Baltimore. He's been heavily featured. Most of it underneath stuff. Even that touchdown was mostly underneath, but he's making his mark on this divisional matchup. That's an explosive play for Mark Andrews. Gain of 26. And we're going to hop in to this Baltimore drive. Starting here at the 41-yard line. Baltimore allowed 2 straight Cleveland touchdowns, and so now they find themselves trailing by 2 scores here. Baltimore plays best when they have the lead. They're not really a team that does as well coming from behind, and when they're forced to lean more into the pass game, they like having all their options on the table. Nice play in the backfield. Sam Hubbard, who has sneaky been a pretty solid signing. He was fairly productive when Daniel Gibson went down. You could argue he was more productive. Here he lines up on the inside. I don't even think you could argue he was more productive. He just was. And speaking of Hubbard, he gets there again. Sam Hubbard. Underrated Cleveland Browns offseason pickup here. Maybe could be playing his way into a bit of a re-sign as kind of a third pass rusher on the team. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Sam. That'll force a Baltimore punt. We've got a critical Baltimore 3rd down here. 3rd and 5 from the 29. A field goal still gets you technically into a 1-possession game, but Baltimore has to be thinking 6 here. Only 3 points on the day. Mark Andrews wide open to the 7-yard line. Able to find the stress point in the zone. It looked like we had one guy needing to cover 2 players. Lamar chooses the right one and gets a big gain on 3rd. To the flats, you get Deontay Johnson, who was just waived in real life by Baltimore, but still sticking around and doing some things for the Ravens in this series. And that's a touchdown. First of the game for the Ravens. Mark Andrews has been very productive for Baltimore in this second half, and the Ravens make it just a 4-point game here as we head towards the home stretch. Baltimore will wisely go for 2 here. Try to make it a 3-point game rather than a 4. Should have seen that coming, but I didn't at the time. And Lamar wide open up the middle of the pocket there. Excuse me as I hiccup. But 11 plays, 77-yard drive for Baltimore to make it a field goal game. Finally able to break the top off this Browns defense, who's been playing stellar all game long against a very high-powered Lamar-led Ravens offense. The Browns trying to put this game away. A touchdown will go a long way towards doing it. Both of their wins on the season have come in the division. They've also, as we saw earlier in this episode, had a very close game against the Bengals. So in a season that's been, for the most part, very painful for Cleveland, their games in the division have given some sort of hope. And even though I said at the start of this game that, you know, they're finally in their best position ever for the #1 pick, it's hard when you're actually in game action to root for the loss, especially when you're playing a 9-3 team in your division. 3rd and 3. This is a massive spot. What can Snell and the offense come up with? Clean pocket. David Njoku. His best game of the season. And he comes through in a major way. That'll lead us to the 2-minute warning. Baltimore will now be forced to use their timeouts. They're just hoping to force Cleveland to a field goal so they can have any sort of chance. The give is to Ford. Nice blocking. That's going to be a pickup of 8 on 1st down. That's exactly what you want if you're the Browns offense. Put yourself in a spot where you can still run it 1 or 2 more times before you get the 1st down, but it's a easily attainable 1st down. Back to Hunt. And he has the 1st down. Baltimore with just 1 timeout left. A massive play towards icing this game. Under center, Snell. The give is to Ford. Just got to stay in bounds and hold on to the ball, and he takes a massive hit. But he is able to hold on to it. You know, also, obviously, injury wasn't too serious as he has come back into this game, but glad to hear it, of course. Ford had more space off the left side, but stuck inside and got stopped up in traffic. 3rd down and 6. Should be close down to a minute when we snap this. We will go to the air. Snell, don't throw an incompletion. We'll take the sack. But Cleveland has to call timeouts. An injury timeout. And it's Sean Snell as well. Oh my goodness, he's headed to the locker room. The most predictable thing ever is the team who's trying to waste the clock will always have an injury timeout in Madden. Always, always, always. I don't think I've ever seen a game where there wasn't a stupid injury timeout when you really didn't want one, when you were leading late in the game. So Baltimore, rather than having 20 seconds and even less, we're talking about probably 15 seconds. If there wasn't that injury timeout. Instead, they have 53. That's doable. Have no timeouts, though. They're going to have to use the sidelines. It's going to be caught by Flowers. That's not going to be very good. 4 yards, and the clock is running. Here's Flowers. You got to let that one go. Up the seam. There's a man open. Emerson will not catch him, and the Ravens tie the game up. Devontae Walker. Emerson, his one weakness is his long speed. Gets beat down the field, no safety help at all. And the defense, which has played so well throughout this entire game, with a massive lapse there. And it's all because of the injury timeouts. No injury timeout, and the clock runs out on that Zay Flowers reception. Deshaun Watson making his first appearance on the season for the Cleveland Browns. Play action for some reason. Going deep. Brown. Oh, sorry, Watson throws an incompletion. He plays for the Browns. His name isn't Brown. 12 seconds remain. Still 2 timeouts. All we need is field goal range. We have 2 plays max to do it. And that's picked off. Kyle Hamilton with the interception, and it will seal this game. We just got to hope that Sean Snell's injury isn't too serious. I wouldn't love to have to play Deshaun Watson for the next couple of games. Baltimore will walk out with a victory. The Browns will call their timeouts because this game is dumb. Why do you have a feature in NCAA Football 25 that isn't in Madden? That's such a good quality of life feature. It just truly doesn't make sense why it wouldn't be in Madden at all. It better be in the next Madden. I understand that college football came out this year and maybe, there are different people working on the games and et cetera, but with an entire year now, the kneel down feature that's in college football needs to be in Madden next year. But more importantly, the Ravens walk out with a last-second victory. Both division games that we've hopped in and watched in this episode were good, tough-fought games. We showed that we can hang with our division rivals, even the ones bound for the playoffs. But ultimately came away with a loss, which is honestly probably in this season the best case scenario. we continue to be in line for, at the very least, a top 3 pick, if not top 1. While showing that maybe we're not all that far away in the end. Snell, 18 for 22 for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. One of his best games, 131 on the rating. 17 attempts for Jerome Ford. They only gave Derrick Henry 5 attempts in this game. That's wild. 7 for 49 and a touchdown for Njoku. Not great on the average, but 7 catches and a touchdown. Probably his best performance on the year. Which I think is telling you a lot. That shouldn't be a player of his caliber's, best performance on the year. TFL's Myles Garrett had 3, but no sacks once again for him. Sam Hubbard had our lone sack. Kyle Hamilton had the game's lone interception. We just need one more cornerback interception to complete that goal. Not going to get it in this game, though. Back to the negotiating table with Greg Newsome. Let's just give him 18 mil a year, I think. That's a lot more than what he's asking for, but he doesn't have any interest in coming back. We're going to have to overpay. And I would love for the corners to remain a strength here on this team. I have a lot of needs heading to the offseason. I don't want cornerback to become one. So Greg Newsome is re-signed with the Cleveland Browns. We've got the Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson trio for the foreseeable future, although, of course, Martin Emerson had a rough moment just a little bit ago. That might be the end of our re-signs here, although, you know what? 8.76 per year is a little bit much. That's pretty much our entire cap room. I'd be willing to do it for, even that. I think we can think about bringing back Hubbard in the offseason, but I do want to see if there's any alternatives. He's playing pretty well on the year, considering he hasn't been a full-time player for the entire year. 7.5 sacks. That's actually one off of his career high, or half off of his career high. So there's that to consider. I'd like to bring him back. I just would like some flexibility in our cap space. Now, next year is the final year of Deshaun Watson's contract, so you consider, what would be the equivalent of like a post-June 1 cut. I don't know exactly. I know that doesn't exist in Madden, but I don't know if his contract is represented correctly in Madden. So you might be able to save some money by moving off of Deshaun Watson. That would give us room. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, actually. We're not going to do it this season, but what is the game saying we would save? We know in reality this contract's fully guaranteed. So yeah, it says if we were to move off of him, we'd actually save a bunch of money, even though that's not true. But we could, make it like it was a post-June 1 cut. Which in that case, I think I do want to bring back Hubbard. I think he's earned it with his play this year. Just on a 1-year deal, we'll offer you that. Sam Hubbard is back, as well as Greg Newsome. And it looks like Sean Snell did suffer a pretty significant injury here. Broken hand on his throwing arm, and that'll, I think, keep him out until week 18. So this is the Deshaun Watson show going forward. Buckle up. 35-30. A loss against Green Bay here in week 15. Deshaun Watson actually played really well. This is the best we've had a quarterback play all year long. 4 touchdowns, no picks. That's looking rough for our guy, Sean Snell. If just coming off the bench all year, Deshaun Watson can come out and do that, He also got David Njoku, by far his best game of the year. 4 for 115 and 2 touchdowns. Tutu Atwell, 4 for 97 and 2 touchdowns. Was it a mistake to start Sean Snell all along? I think just not having to have Deshaun Watson be a part of the series really was worth it either way. But if you look at sacks here, Myles Garrett, good one on the board. And Greg Newsome with another interception makes it 10 cornerback picks on the year. We officially got that goal here. We got a deflection for Myles Garrett in this game. I think we're just going to quick sim all of these Deshaun Watson games. I really have no desire to watch him play. Cooled down quite a bit here in a rematch against the Ravens. Derrick Henry much more involved this time around. Nobody got more than 6 carries for us on the day. Jerry Jeudy, 100 yards on the day. And it looks like the production for David Njoku was short-lived. I don't know why I was stumbling on the word looks there, but it is what it is. No sacks recorded by the offensive lineman. Interesting. Interception was for Julian Moran. Deflections-wise, Roquan Smith was all over the place in this game. Taking an updated look here at the standings, and one more loss guarantees the Browns the #1 pick in the drafts in the upcoming year. So things are looking up there. As long as we don't go 2-0 in the final 2, the Browns will have a 100% chance at Donald Richardson, should that be the direction that we plan to go. P.S. That's the direction I plan to go. Oh, it's not over yet, apparently. Cleveland with a win over Miami, who's been pretty good this year. Deshaun Watson, over 100 on the passer rating for the day. 9 carries, but for 114 yards for Jerome Ford. Nobody over 63 yards on the day receiving. 4 for 46 is actually a pretty good day for Njoku here. Linton, another really troublesome day for him. Sacks-wise, 2 for Rashad Dillard, 1 for Daniel Gibson. It's been a long time since we've called his name. And I think we're in a spot where we're officially in danger of Myles Garrett not getting 10 sacks this year, which he hasn't done. I mean, did he get it his rookie year? I'm not 100% sure. He did force a fumble in this game at least. I want to check on his stats. His 8 sacks this year are the lowest he's had since his rookie year in 2017. He has not been below double digits in any year since. He needs a 2-sack game in week 18 to keep this double-digit sack streak alive in his career. He had a pretty solid start to the year. I think his first 7 games he had 6 sacks. He's had just 2 sacks in this episode total, and we've gone through obviously a very large portion of the year. And just like that, we're about to wrap up the entirety of the regular season. That's very quick. I don't think many other seasons, if any other season in this franchise, will go this quick. Maybe until we're at the point where, we're trying to get towards the long-term send towards the end of this series. But ultimately, I found this to be kind of a lost season. We're one of the worst teams in all of football. Didn't see a lot of reasons to stick around very long in this year. And ultimately, I think kind of just the lack of hope as well with this roster. Once it was clear that Sean Snell just kind of didn't have it. I think it was time for me to move on from this first year. And so as long as we get a loss here, and now the Raiders are 5-11, so a loss here is actually no sure thing. We actually have a 1 overall advantage. If you're just looking at roster here, that's mostly because of our defense, although the Raiders actually have the same overall defense as us. Do we get the #1 pick in the NFL draft? And the answer is, drum roll please, yes we do. A 31-6 loss against the Las Vegas Raiders will secure us the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. The Bills led the NFL this year at 15-2. Niners went 14-3. Ravens 13-4 ended up winning our division. Seahawks at 12-5. A bunch of 11-win teams here. Here's the landscape of the NFL, but most importantly, the Browns with a 1-loss advantage over the Saints. Even if we won that game, we would have been guaranteed a top 2 pick, although the Saints, I think, are looking for quarterback. So that was a very important loss. I don't know who would have had the tiebreaker between us and New Orleans, but the Browns secured the number 1 pick in a draft that was very important to secure it by the skin of our teeth. We made it, interesting with that week 17 victory, but we got the job done in week 18 to make sure that we got that number 1 pick. We've got the reply here to our early season reporter interview. Let's see what we get for the 10 interceptions we got from the corners. He roasted us for not meeting the goal you promised. We literally did it. Madden is such a trash game, man. What is wrong with Madden? We got it. We got more than 10 interceptions from the corners. Oh, now you see why everybody's frustrated with these scenarios. Most of them are kind of dumb, and they don't even work. They don't work, man. That's so frustrating. Madden just needs to be better. But we're going to work around kind of the faults that Madden has. Madden's had these faults for years. Yeah, we still find ways to have fun in the series, but that's truly disappointing. I can't believe that. Let's take a look at our end-of-year stats here for year 1. Sean Snell, 2,400 yards, which is 31st in the league. Of course, he did miss 3 games, to his credit, but more interceptions than he had touchdowns, 64% completion, just 185 yards per game in the air. Just was not good enough. We saw that it wasn't really much to do with our offensive line either. I know our weapon situation wasn't elite by any means, which of course would help Sean Snell out. This was going to be always going to be a multi-year rebuild. We weren't going to fix all of our problems in 1 year, but I think it's clear that quarterback should be on the top of the mind for the Cleveland Browns for next season. Jerome Ford ends up with a 4.4 yard average, just 3 touchdowns. He was getting sniped a lot by Kareem Hunt when it came down to the goal line here, but 4.5 yards a carry I think is good enough to give him the job next year. Sean Snell rushed for a touchdown. We saw that happen. That was one of the touchdowns that we watched. No receivers over 1,000 yards for Cleveland here. Jerry Jeudy leads us with 933 and 4 touchdowns. Tillman with 750, Atwell with 700, David Njoku just 500 yards. I want to see how that kind of matches up with what he's done in previous years. I mean, really, I think 2023 obviously was like his best year. He's only actually ever topped 600 3 times, so maybe not as bad as I made it out to be. This is still, I'd say, a below average year, but David Njoku only has once ever topped 800 and has only thrice ever topped 600, so I think I still want to get him more involved. I think that shouldn't be too difficult for us. He did tie for the lead in touchdown receptions for us this year, which is nice. Blocking wise, we had Linton allow 16 sacks. Now I want to put that in context. Who allowed the most sacks in the NFL? It was 17. So he allowed the second most sacks in the NFL this year. Is that going to result in him losing his superstar development? In most cases, I don't like players losing their superstar development after their rookie seasons, but when you allow the second most sacks in the NFL, I might have to let it slide. Especially when your whole thing is a pass protector, right? Like that's his thing. Now, we did maybe screw him over a little bit, right? By not having the upgrades. I tend to save upgrades for the end of episodes and when we go through so many weeks in an episode, but I don't think that ultimately made a massive difference. JOK with 139 tackles, 10 TFLs. Myles Garrett, 16 TFLs. I didn't look at the box score for the final game, but Myles Garrett ends up with just 8 sacks. That still leads the team. Daniel Gibson with just 5.5, and he had 4 of those in one game. Daniel Gibson, he missed some time as well, but not enough time to not be fairly disappointed with his year 1 performance. We took him over a quarterback, and I think that's going to be fairly controversial with how he wasn't all that productive this season. Now, we can do some quick math here. We have 5, 8, 10 interceptions from our corners this year. That should have gotten that successful scenario here. So it is what it is. Madden just is low quality in a lot of areas, and unfortunately the scenarios, which was their big selling point for this game, were just very poorly done. Forced fumbles. We got 4 fumbles forced on the year. There you have them. Overall, I think the defense could have been better. I was worried that we would win maybe more games than we should this season because of our defense, but that ended up not being too much of a problem at all. We had some good performances from them for sure, but for the most part, we gave up a decent amount of points this year. Let's take a look at where we ended up ranking here. 29th in offensive yards, 26th in defensive yards. That's definitely below where we thought we would be. Dead last in the NFL in scoring, and 22nd in the NFL in points allowed. I would say that is a pretty disappointing year for our defense. Offense, I think we kind of knew it was going to be rough this year. Let's take a look at what the other quarterbacks that went in the first round did this year. Now, we didn't have a shot at Glenn Davis, so we can't really compare whether or not we should have drafted him. He ended up throwing 22 picks, which is a lot. Over 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns. Wasn't a perfect season for him by any means, but certainly better than Sean Snell, although I don't think we're surprised about that. The Raiders drafted Levi Stark, who ended up with 3,300 yards. He does have star dev. 3,300 yards, 23 touchdowns, 17 picks. Pretty high again on the picks spot there, but averaged less than 10 yards a game more than our guy Snell. Did have more touchdowns and interceptions, but I wouldn't necessarily call that a barn burner of a rookie season by any means. And then the last guy here was Paul Kirkland. Again, 3,300 yards, less than 10 yards a game more than our guy. 27 touchdowns and 15 picks is, almost a 2-to-1 advantage. So he had that going for him. But ultimately, I don't think the 2 quarterbacks that we had a chance to take, either of them really lit up the scene to the point where you can definitively say that we should have taken them. Glenn Davis here also a star dev, but I think it's still yet to be seen what would have been better for the franchise between Gibson and these quarterbacks. Gibson, a little disappointing in his rookie year for sure, but we're going to give him time to grow. Maybe being on a better team will help him, and none of these quarterbacks, at least the ones that we had a chance to actually draft, really lit it up in their rookie years at all. And then, as we do to end off every episode, we're going to finish this one off with some upgrades here. Ended up securing the number 1 overall pick in this episode, which you love to see. Required a lot of losing, and there are some players on this team that you have to question, especially on the defense. They're in their prime. Are they going to stick around for a long-term rebuild? Beeson's starting to look a little bit more well balanced here at the end of year 1. Still has a long way to go run blocking though. Linton clearly needs more work as a pass protector, but we're actually going to go like agile and power here because it helps him. We do get the ability slot. We'll see if he loses it though. In Super Bowl week, we'll be going through Super Bowl week at the start of next episode. Looks pretty good. Even if he goes down to star dev, that's a solid spot to start. I think his morale being so low really hurt him As he was giving up sacks, he was taking morale. As he was taking morale, he got worse, which was making him give up more sacks. And it's just a vicious cycle. To get in, morale just really can tank you. I got a slot upgrade with no coverage. I don't think I've ever had that before. Denzel Ward gets an upgrade here. What do we want with him? We want a little bit more. I think honestly at this point we just make what is his strength even a bigger strength. He's still really good at man coverage, but you know, a 28-year-old. Now he'll be 29 next season. I think at this point just keep his strength the strength. Jerry Jeudy will upgrade in playmaker here. +5 catching traffic. Are you kidding me? That's insane. Holy crap. Put it from an 81 to an 86. Might be one of the best upgrades I've ever seen. Let's go. I think JOK had a good enough year. He might hit superstar. So I want to get him to 85 overall because that'll give him an ability. He was really good when we hopped in and watched games this year, of course. I still remember, you know, that game 1 game, he was all over the place. Was really good. I think we gotta upgrade the block shedding a bit here. On Daniel Gibson, didn't get a ton of upgrades this year. Only went up 3 overall total. But he didn't have a really good season, and he did miss some time. Jerome Ford will get up to an 80 overall here. Likely to feature heavily next year. I don't think this is the running back class to really supplant him or anything. We'll keep the scheme fit with 2-2. Good stuff there with the route running. Thornhill going to be leaving us here in free agency. There's a chance we just, you know, go ahead and bring him back. He has decent interest. Cedric Tillman. I think just let his strength be his strength. Physical. We have a couple playmaker receivers. Not every single person needs to be a scheme fit. Do you like to have different skill sets in your wide receiver room, of course. Mike Hall. Gonna stick with run stopper here. Hopefully we get a strength upgrade, please. +5 awareness. Jeez. +2 finesse. With his morale upgrade, he has the same block shed power and finesse now. Diabate. He's no longer going to be with the team. Free agent, unless we decide to bring him back, of course. Let's go over here to Sean Snow. Get him up to a 70 overall. Likely has started his last game. Unless we get an injury at quarterback. Still, of course, gonna care about his development. Everyone else here is just a backup. We've done it a lot of time here on upgrades. So we'll quick upgrade everybody else. And that's going to be the end of this episode. Went through year 1 really quickly here in the series. I do want to go relatively quick through the regular season in this type of series. I think with us starting the rebuild so deep into the Madden cycle, we do kind of go pretty quickly, but I don't think we'll ever do another year maybe quite as quick as this one. We'll have a lot to watch next year with a likely rookie franchise quarterback in the mix. That's all I've got for the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back soon with more Cleveland Browns realistic franchise rebuild, and I'll see you then. Go Browns.